Good morning, afternoon, evening to those who are watching today's class. My name is Alex, and today we'll be doing some IELTS speaking practice. So I look forward to you taking part and getting some feedback today on your IELTS speaking. We are broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook, and we will as well have people joining us live in the class today in order to do some practice. So for those who are watching, then please do contribute with your thoughts, ideas and reflections as we progress through the class. And if you are as well part of the scholarship program and you want to get involved today, then please just click on the link in order to join, and we will do some practice together. So if you are currently watching live, just let me know your name and where you're watching from. If you just share that information in the chat box, it would be great to hear from you. So let's see who we've got in the class at the moment. I can see that we've been joined in the class by Peter and Jesse, which is great to see. Let's see who else is going to join. Okay, so just as we're getting warmed up here, I would like to, of course, let you know about the scholarship program, which is something which we have made available so that we can get together and do this practice. So the scholarship program is something which is offered by ourselves at Swoosh English in connection with Connetics. And if you would love to work as a nurse in the USA, then check out the scholarship, the USA IELTS scholarship, in which you could do this for free. And if you would like to find out more information about this, then just click on the link in the chat box, and you can just click on Staff Nurse, and you can find out how you can take advantage of this opportunity. Okay. So I can see that we've been joined now on YouTube by Jacob. Hello to you, Jacob. And also by Jackie as well, is watching from Saudi Arabia. So a very warm welcome to you. And welcome to Rachel as well, who is watching from the United Arab Emirates. Hello to Jesse as well. Okay. And a very warm welcome to all those who are watching currently on either YouTube or Facebook. So let's have a look then at the topic for today's class. We will be looking at today adding information. That's the key. So in order to score well in the IELTS exam, particularly in parts 1 and 3, it's often appropriate to provide reasons for your answers. So by providing reasons for your answers, you are able to show a greater level of fluency and also a greater range of grammar and vocabulary. So to exemplify this, if we look at an example for a part 1 question, which might be something like this: what is your favorite type of music? The response, I like jazz, answers the question, but it's very limited in terms of development. It doesn't add much, it doesn't show much in terms of your grammatical knowledge, it doesn't show much in terms of your vocabulary knowledge, and it's a very limited response to give to the question. So obviously what you want to be doing in the IELTS exam is to show that you have a high level in grammar and vocabulary, and giving reasons for our responses is a way in which we can do that. Just a quick hello to those that are joining the class. Irena from Bulgaria, hello to you. Lakpa as well has joined, is watching on Facebook, hello to you, and is watching from India. And Osato is watching us live as well. So welcome to all of those watching the class. So as I was saying, giving reasons for our responses is extremely important in the IELTS exam. And if we don't give reasons for our responses, then it means that what we say tends to be very limited. So here is an example of a response with a reason given. So same question, what is your favorite type of music? Here the response is, I like jazz because, so obviously because is being used to provide a reason, I find it engaging and relaxing and it helps me to unwind. So here we can see examples of grammatical range. I find it, so using the object after the verb, I find in this case is grammatically correct. Engaging, relaxing. Here we're showing an extension of vocabulary using relevant adjectives. Helps me to. In this case, after help, we can see using the object helps me plus to, an infinitive. That's the grammatical structure. Then unwind is also a less common vocabulary item. So by giving a reason for something, we're able to show much more range in these two areas. If we have a look at another example, do you think it's important for all children to learn to play a musical instrument? Response, not necessarily. So this is an example then of a part 3 question where you're asked to give an opinion in general, not just talking about your own preferences or your own experiences. So for part 3, certainly you need to be showing a wide range of vocabulary and grammar in order to score highly in this section of the exam. So clearly, given the response not necessarily is not appropriate. So what response could you give? In the chat box, if you're watching now, how could you give a response to this question which provides a reason and shows some range in terms of grammar and vocabulary? So just share your answers if you want to give a response here. If you're watching, as I say, on Facebook or YouTube, if you're watching live within the class, it would be great to see what responses you produce. Just as we're seeing, if we get some responses to this one, Anna Fernandez is watching from Oxford. Welcome to you, Anna Fernandez. Okay. So what do we think then? What ideas could we produce in response to this question? So if you do share them, I will read out those ideas. But here is an example that I came up with in response to this question. Yeah, so same question, do you think it's important for all children to learn to play a musical instrument? Not necessarily, and then we give an explanation because not all children will have an interest in doing this. So we can see now, again, range of grammar using the future tense in order to give an opinion. So not all children will have an interest in doing this. We can use will in order to say that something is likely to be true or very likely to be true. And they might prefer, so here we've got the modal verb might to say that something is possible, prefer plus to, so here we have the correct use of the grammar structure, pursue other activities. So to pursue an activity, less common vocabulary using pursue here, such as playing a particular sport. So here we've got playing a sport using the correct combination of words, the verb play plus sport. Playing a particular sport, so particular is adding extra vocabulary, or acting, and then acting again is adding relevant vocabulary to the question. So we can see in the extension here, there's much more range in terms of grammar and vocabulary. You can see here I put lexical range. Lexical range refers to vocabulary. So let's see. So Jesse says, I think children are quick learner. They should be encouraged to learn all kinds of instruments. Good. Yeah, absolutely. So we're adding information here, aren't we? So we could say, so obviously the answer to the question here is yes, because I think children are quick learners and they should be encouraged to learn all kinds of instruments. So at least there we're extending on our answers. So we can see the importance then of giving reasons for our responses. And what I want to look at now are what sort of words we can use in order to give reasons for responses. So because is the most popular, it's the most common. However, it's not the only word that we can use in order to give reasons for something. So what other words could we use instead of because to give a reason for an opinion that we have? So again, just share in the chat box if you have an answer to this one. Let me know what alternatives we can use to because. Instead of just using because, which is fine, it's not a problem, but of course, by using more range in the exam, we can demonstrate a wider level of vocabulary and also grammar. So what other words or phrases could we use? Okay, so Val says due to. Absolutely, due to is an alternative that we could use. Dorina also says due to. For the reason, says Val. Yeah, absolutely, that's another possibility. Alni, due to as well. Due to is a very common one here. In order to say why something is the case, yeah, we could. That's an alternative that we could use. Anna Karenina, for that reason, yeah, absolutely, that's a possibility as well. Or again, obviously, we need to sort of see the context in terms of how we'd use it. But yeah, good. Aside from that, not so much. That's to add extra information. So if we've already used because to give one reason, then we might use aside from that to add some extra reasons. We could use it in that context. Okay, good. So some great suggestions there. So here are some others. So we can use as. We can use as a synonym for because. We're going to use since as well. That can also be a synonym meaning because. Because of. So if we use because of, then that actually changes the grammar a little bit, but we could use the expression because of the fact that. So that's an alternative. Due to, and again, we could use the longer expression due to the fact that as well. So that was suggested by a number of you guys watching today, so that's great. So those are the four we're going to look at as alternatives. But what I want to make you aware of is the fact that for some of these expressions, if we use them in certain ways, we'll have to change the grammar of the sentence in order to use them correctly. So let's have a look at some examples then. So going back to a previous question, what is your favorite type of music? We could say, I like jazz. As or since, I find it engaging and relaxing and it helps me to unwind. So the same response as before, except we're using as or since instead of because. So we don't have to make any changes there. We can just use those as synonyms for because. Another example. So for the question we looked at previously, do you think it's important for all children to learn to play a musical instrument? Not necessarily. And then we can use because of the fact that or due to the fact that. And again, the rest of the sentence stays the same. We don't have to make any changes to the grammar. We're just using a longer sentence here, or I should say a longer phrase, rather than just because. We're saying because of the fact that or due to the fact that. So no changes need to be made. However, here, this is a little bit different. So if we have a look at another question, in this example, do you prefer listening to music digitally or live? So we could respond, I prefer live music because, as, or since. We can use any of these conjunctions to give a reason. There's often a wonderful atmosphere and the music sounds more intense. Okay, so that's one way that we could give a response. An alternative to this is to give the response, I prefer live music because of or due to the wonderful atmosphere and the intensity of the music. So you can see that the structure of the sentence changes quite a lot in the second option compared to the first option. This is because when we use because, as, or since, you can see we're using a verb phrase. Yeah, there is, the music sounds, subject, verb. So we're using verb phrases here. Whereas if we use because of or due to, we have to use a noun phrase. So because of the wonderful atmosphere and the intensity of the music. So these are examples of noun phrases that are being used in the second response. So you can see that by changing the conjunction that we use, we're using a greater variety of grammar. Yeah, using because of or due to means that we're going to be using noun phrases, which is an alternative to using the verb phrases we would use just if we used because or as or since. So this is something to reflect on when it comes to the IELTS speaking, because giving reasons is so important and it's so common. If we can show a bit of variety in how we do this, then we will be able to score more highly in the IELTS criteria. Okay, so great. Let's do some practice now. Then we've got some students that have joined us in the class, and we're going to start by looking at some part one questions. So Anna, we will start with you. I'm going to bring you into the class now. So let's see how you're doing. How are you today, Anna?
Hello. Hello, Alex.
Hi.
I'm doing good. Last week
Good.
my microphone was not working that well.
Okay. So you weren't able to join us last week.
Yes, yes,
That's right. Yeah, I think yeah we did. I did try to bring you in last week, didn't I? But
yes.
yeah, no worries, Anna. I'm glad that you're able to join us this week.
Yeah. Thank
Okay
you.
then. No worries. So let's have a look at some part one questions then, Anna. Just in relation to this, are you usually when you give responses, you're used to giving reasons for your responses? That's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Good, good. So let's see some examples of this then in the responses to these questions. So for IELTS speaking part one, just a very quick introduction for those who are less familiar with it. This will usually last for 4 to 5 minutes, and it will begin with questions asking for your full name and also identification, just to prove that you are who you say you are. The questions in this section of the exam will include topics related to your hometown, your family, your job and studies, plus questions on 2 to 3 other topics. So that's what we're going to have a look at in the practice today, questions related to these 2 to 3 other topics that you will get in the exam. So we're going to look at the topic of museums for the beginning of the practice today, Anna. So my first question to you is this: have you ever been to a museum?
Absolutely. I think I've been to a museum I think 2 years ago with my friends, and we had a great time.
Perfect. Um, and do you think museums are important?
Of course, because museums are museums are there for the children to learn more about the ancient times, like the histories, and to be able to know regarding a lot of things like in the World War II. So in the future they can be able to, I think, hand over the history to other generations.
Are there many museums in your hometown?
Not really. I think in the Philippines, we have a museum in Manila, but in the countryside we don't have. So if we're going to museum, we will go like ride the bus and trains for us to be able to see that beautiful place.
And what kinds of museums are popular in your country?
That I am not sure, but I think when I had my vacation in Vietnam 2 years ago, I went to a museum which is a like war museum, so you can see a lot of artifacts which commemorates the war that happened before World War II. So yeah, I think in our home country there's nothing, but other places they have a lot.
Okay. And how often do you go to a museum?
Like I've said, I am not into museums because it's quite boring. But then again, it's informative because museums tend to give a lot of informations regarding the past.
And did you go to museums more often when you were a child?
Not really, because as I've said, I lived in a countryside, in a rural area, so I seldom go to the um urban area, so I did not go to any museums when I was still a child.
Are museums free to enter in the Philippines, or do you have to pay to go in?
Well, sadly to say, museums are not free. It's better if our government should be able to give a free admissions to museums so that children can learn more about the history of the country.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much there, Anna, for your responses.
Thank
Um,
you.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. Some really good use of vocabulary in there, relevant as well to the topic. So, referring to ancient times, obviously, World War II, as well, relevant vocabulary connected to museums. Also, there were some nice expressions that you used. So, referring back to what you'd said previously. So, like I've said, in order to sort of provide that link. Giving opinions, so it's quite boring. So very honest opinion there, and that's good. Just a few slips in terms of grammar, Anna. So you talked at one stage about the histories, but history generally is used as an uncountable noun. So we talk about the history of a place rather than using the plural form.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's one of the differences between the word story and history. So story it can be plural. It's countable, sort of
Mm-mm.
different stories. But history generally is not. Yeah, we talk about sort of the history of a place. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and also with information as well. At one point, you talked about informations. Again, information is uncountable, so we wouldn't use the plural form
Right.
for that.
Okay.
Good, yeah. And just to follow up on as well. So the first question asked you, have you ever been to a museum? And your response was, I've been to a museum last year. So in the question, have you ever been? That's not specific for a particular time. It's basically saying, any time from the past, up to recent experiences, have you done it? So if you give a specific time, which you said, last year was a specific time, then you would use the past tense. So you wouldn't say, I've been to a museum last year. You would say, I went to a museum last year. Um,
Okay.
yeah, because you're referring now to something that began and ended in the past. So yeah,
Mm-mm.
so we use the past tense in that context. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, thank you very much, Anna, and
Thank you.
some great responses.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's continue with our practice then. We've got a new student that's joined us here, I think, or a student that's not been here for a few weeks. I'm just going to bring you in. Are you there, Sam?
Hi, Alex. This is
Hi,
Summer.
Summer. I wondered actually. I saw the name Sum. I was like, is that short for summer?
Yes.
Well, welcome back, Summer. How are you doing today?
It's been a great day.
It's been a great day, did you say?
Yes,
Wonderful, wonderful. What's been so great?
because tomorrow is weekend.
Oh yeah, that's very true. That is something worth celebrating. Okay. So Summer, we're going to have a look then at a new topic together now, um, and it's the topic of birds. Uh, so um, yeah, Summer. So do you like birds?
Well, I do love birds, especially the way the chirping sound.
Yeah.
I could say that it really suits to the ears, and also it makes me wonder or ponder sometimes if ever every time I hear the the chirping of the birds.
Mm. And what kinds of birds do you like?
Actually, I don't have a particular favorite, I could say, because I'm not uh familiar with any kinds of birds, but I used to I used to learn something like the parrot, because they usually like repeat whatever the people say.
Mm.
So uh it's really good to talk to them because the way they interact with you is really fascinating.
Okay. And have you ever had a bird as a pet?
Oh, unfortunately, I really don't have any.
Mm.
I only have those uh, dog and cats. That's the usual thing we have in the Philippines. So birds, I don't have any. I didn't experience at all.
Are there any birds that are popular in the Philippines?
Um, well, I could say we have those national bird. I could say which is the Maya. Actually, it's just a small bird, color brown, and usually they will appear every uh, season of cropping, rice cropping.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the only thing which is famous in the Philippines.
Okay.
I can, yeah.
Okay. And how do you feel about hunting or shooting birds?
Well, it's sad to say that people tend to kill animals, especially those birds, because they don't have the capacity to fight back. At the same time, it is really frustrating that people um, tend to kill them without. Uh, I mean, I think they just kill them because of their hobbies. So for this reason, it's really devastated to learn that these people, because of their hobbies, they just want to do this kind of activities, killing some birds or any kind of animals.
Mm. Okay. Thank you very much there, Summer. So yeah, it was interesting to find out a bit more about the Philippines there. That the Maya is the national bird. I didn't even realize there was a bird called the Maya. So that was interesting to learn. I just did a quick bit of research to find out about that. So
Is it?
yeah, that was great.
Interesting.
um, Good. So yeah, some nice use of vocabulary in there. So you talked about the chirping sound. So much less common vocabulary you were using there, which was great. Also, you referred to obviously the question was seeing like testing how much vocabulary you had. So the fact you were able to produce particular types of birds, the parrot, obviously you mentioned, as well as the Maya, was great to hear. Some nice expressions. You said I don't have a particular favorite, so that was a nice expression to use there as well. Um, so yeah, so some really good vocabulary. Also, you were using especially as well to highlight information. So that was a good thing to do as well. Just some expressions that you use. So you said it really suits the ears. So that's just slightly unnatural expression. So
Oh,
yeah, you might say, for example, you know, it's a really sweet sound, or it's yeah, it's a really sort of harmonious sound, we might say, as a slightly more sort of natural expression. Um, yeah, obviously it was clear what you were saying there, but it's just the expression just wasn't quite natural. Um, and also just be careful with pronunciation. So at one point you mentioned rice cropping, but
oh,
the vowel sound wasn't quite clear. It sounded almost like you're saying more of an ah, more like crapping, rather than oh, cropping.
crap.
Um, and also when you said the word hobbies as well, again, it almost sounded like habbies rather than oh, that oh sound. Hobbies is what you
Hob-
want to go for.
hobbies.
Yeah. So it's that oh,
Hobbies.
oh sound. Yeah, just be careful with that.
Oh,
Um,
hobbies.
there was some hesitation at times as well, just when you were thinking of words, thinking what you wanted to say. So do just be aware of that as well, because that would impact your fluency if you're hesitating too much. So
Okay.
yeah, that's just a point to be aware of too. Um, but yeah, but obviously lots of positive things in terms of the vocabulary you're using, and it was great to learn a bit about the Maya as well. So so thanks for that. Okay, thank you very much there then, Summer.
Thank you,
Um,
Alex.
no worries. Okay, so let's have a look at one more part one topic together. And to do this, I'm going to bring in another student. So let me just bring in uh, Jesnine into the class. Hi there, Jesnine.
Hi, Alex. Good evening.
Good evening to you. It's a nice bright afternoon at the moment in the UK, actually. But I understand, obviously, where you are in the Philippines, it's quite late, isn't it?
Yes, it's almost midnight here.
Almost midnight. Wow, the weekend is upon you.
Yes, and luckily I'm on off, so I'm away from toxic duties, I guess.
Okay, no, it's good. It's good that it's nice to have a break, isn't it? It's important to have a break to
Yeah,
recuperate
yeah.
and to recover. Um, Good. Okay, Jasmine. So we're going to move on to another topic together,
Mm-hmm.
and the topic, actually, funny enough, will be discussion.
Okay.
So what do you like to talk about?
So there are a lot of things that I want to talk about, but I'm a fan of watching anime. So I got very interested when someone who is called an otaku, it means an anime fan. So I've always wanted to talk someone who can relate when it comes to anime, and I've always wanted to talk about it because it is one of my stress reliever.
Mm. Do you prefer talking or listening?
I prefer listening because as they said, I'm always a good listener. And I think if I can't answer a question, your I think if I can't answer one question, I guess I can give you some time, spare some time to listen more about your inquiries, or do you or you have a problem. So I guess I can I can lend an ear to anybody.
And how was your discussion topics changed since you were a child?
That's a tough question. Regarding that, I think I have a very wide understanding when it comes to different topics, and I think that in my I'm kind of flexible type of person. So any topics when you want to discuss about it, so I'm very willing to listen and I also give an insight about it. So I think I changed a lot when I was a kid.
Okay. Do you change your opinion frequently?
I think no, because I often stand firm on my decision, and I think that um it depends also when there's a insight that is given to me, and I often reconsider things because I also listen in other people's opinions. So I think that also makes me a very competent nurse too, because I listen to constructive criticisms.
What's the most memorable conversation that you've had recently?
I think I want to talk about my friend Krisa because we talk about her family. She she is a very lovely girl, and she often gives me a very good insight in life, and we talk spontaneously that because we are so comfortable to each other, and I think she also give me a life lesson when it comes to dealing with hardship, and I think she is also one of my trusted friend whenever I've got a problem. So she is a very a very sweet kind a type of lady, and everyone around her also likes her.
Good. Okay, thank you very much there, Jessamine. So again, interesting information. What do you say? Otaka is the name of someone who is a fan of anime.
Otaku. Yes, otaku.
Otaku. Otaku. Otaku. Is that a Japanese word?
Yes, it's a Japanese word.
Ah, very interesting. Okay, great. So lots of really nice use of vocabulary there. So you said that you like, and good expressions that you were using. So at one point you said you like to stand your ground. You said you're a fan of. You said that also you're happy to lend an ear as well. So lots of these expressions, idiomatic expressions that you were using. And you were using them in the appropriate context as well. So that was great to hear. Also, just some nice adjectives you're using. So describe your friend. A lovely, sweet person. You described her as. You also described talking about anime as being a stress reliever. So that was great as well. Just in terms of some things to reflect on. So there were some errors in tense, because you said at the beginning, you said, I always wanted to talk about anime. So you're using the past tense, but
Okay.
this is a reference, to the present, isn't it? What do you like to talk about now?
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
so using the present tense would be more appropriate there.
Okay.
And also, kind of the opposite, when you were talking about a conversation with your friend, you said, we talk about her family, but now, of course, this is something that happened in the past. So it should be, we talked about her family in this context.
Okay.
Yeah. And just a final thing as well with prepositions. So you said that you and your friend, you said, we're so comfortable to each other, but comfortable with is
With
the
yes, yes.
preposition. Yeah.
Mhm.
And also with listen, you said, listen in others' opinions, but listen to others' opinions would be the
Listen to.
preposition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just those grammatical elements to look at.
Mhm. I think I still have this hesitation whenever I try to talk.
I thought you spoke at a nice pace, actually. To be honest, there weren't too many sort of extended pauses. So yeah, I thought your pace, the pace of your speech was appropriate.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Thank you.
so
Thank
yeah,
you.
no worries. Okay, so thanks, Jessamine, and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Alex.
Take
Likewise.
care. Thanks a lot. Okay, so Pachu is saying that fluency is a challenge when the topic is strange or unknown. That is true. Just a point, actually, something that Jesnine did well is at the beginning of the responses to one of the questions, she said, that's a tough question. And this is a good technique to use if you are a little bit uncertain, is to use an expression which gives you a bit of time. So that's a tough question. So you're not just hesitating and not saying anything, but you're actually responding to the question. You use like a time buying phrase, and that can help to avoid extended pausing. So that's a good strategy that Jesnine used. Okay, we're going to move on to look at some part 3 questions. Just before we do, it's time for me to remind you of the scholarship program. So if you would love to work as a nurse in the USA, then do sign up for our scholarship program. Find out what we can offer you to help you to do that. This is a partnership between Swoosh English and Connetics USA. So take advantage by clicking on the link in the chat box and just click on staff nurse if you would like to find out more information. So I'm going to share that link in the chat box now, and just click on staff nurse if you would like to find out more about this and participate live in these classes as well in the future. Okay, so let's move on then to part 3, and let's bring in another student to do some practice today. Just before we do for part 3, a quick introduction to part 3 for those who are less familiar. So this usually lasts between 4 to 5 minutes. The questions in the exam will be linked to a part 2 topic. It will be question and answer, so the same format as with part A, but the questions will be more abstract. So they'll be about your opinions on society, for example, not just in terms of your own personal experience. You should make sure you give a clear opinion for part 3, and also make sure that you explain or justify your opinion as well. So obviously that's what I was talking about in terms of giving reasons for your opinions. Okay, so I'm just going to bring Jessie into the class now. Jessie, are you there?
Hi, Alex.
Hi, how are you doing on
I'm
this
doing good.
wonderful day?
Thank you. How are you,
Good.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. I'm doing well. Are you looking forward to the weekend?
Not really, because of pandemic, our hospitals are full, so there is no weekends for us.
Oh
So they
dear.
said that one of the weekdays they will give us off. So weekends we are working.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you so much, obviously, for the really important work that you're doing. Um,
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's the difficulty, isn't it? Is that yeah, it is so important, so it's difficult to get a break. But yeah, okay, Jesse. But let's have a look then at the first topic then for part three we're going to do today,
Okay.
and the topic is cities. So, a question for you then, Jesse. Why do many people like to go to public places?
Yeah. So I think so. Young people like to explore things, and they like to take everything into action. They like to go to different places. They want to see what is new. They want to see something, something which they haven't seen. So this is the way they like to explore. Yeah.
Mm. And which types of public places do older people usually go to?
Uh, I personally think that older people like to go to some. I mean to say. Uh, Temples, church, or museum, art gallery, where if they are interested in a particular subject, they would like to go there and visit, and moreover, they like to go to a park. See, in our country where we have park around, we see senior citizen going there and relaxing, and yeah, they take the most advantage of the public places.
Do you think it's important to have green spaces in cities?
Definitely, absolutely. I think so that we should have green spaces because when I talk about India, uh, especially Mumbai city, it is so congested and crowded that it is full of pollution. So we should have lots of tree plantation, and we should give lots of, I mean to say, greenery around everywhere, so that we can breathe in fresh air.
And how do you think cities or towns will change in the future?
It's a very good question because even we are waiting when it will change in future, because we are paying the tax and we are waiting for the government and the private sector to do some action to change many things, and it is not happening. So eventually I think so it will happen. We are waiting for the best and keeping our fingers crossed. It will happen, I think so, but it is in a slow process.
But what do you think will change?
Main thing, what I think is the widening of the roads. Then we have the transportation, which is not that good. So we have a population of 1.3 billion people, and there is so much of less space and more population. So I think so, especially transportation. Then I mean to say the public place. Uh, many things we really need to change here in the city. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much there then, Jesse, for your answers to those questions. So some really good stuff in there. So some nice use of vocabulary again: congested, crowded, greenery as a way to paraphrase green spaces. You also use the technique as well. You gave yourself a bit of time buying expression. So you said it's a very good question, which obviously then sort of gives you a little bit of time to then
Yeah, yeah.
just
Actually,
formulate your response.
I was little, mind block I had, and then I immediately said, no, no, I have to answer the question.
Perfect. Good. Yeah. So that is a great strategy to use in that situation. And sometimes that's all you need, just a couple of seconds, isn't it, just to get
Yes.
going. because to the first question there was a bit of a pause, but then after that, for all the other questions, you did respond
Because I
in a
thought
natural way.
young people, why should they like to go to public? They are all the time in public places. Then I was thinking, which public places should I think of to say, like, you know?
Yeah, well, this is it. But what you're allowed to do for part three, in fact, what is important for part three, is that you are kind of thinking out loud. So you can even say that and say, well, that's a difficult one because I'm thinking, you know, which kind of public spaces? I guess maybe they
Yeah.
go to sort of like, you know, squares or to sort of gardens. And yeah, so
Yes.
you can think out loud. That's not a problem
Yeah.
at all.
I was
You don't have
totally
to.
mind block. I had, you know, totally mind block when you asked the first question.
No worries, Jesse. So yeah, and also just moving on. Yeah, I like the expression used as well. You said it was a slow process in terms of improving the cities. Just bear in mind as well that obviously the question was, how do you think they will change in the future? So you were focusing quite a lot on the fact that they haven't changed up to now, but you could have extended on that by saying, but in the future, I think, and obviously you did that when I asked what you think will
Yes,
happen.
yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but you could have extended on that, you know, as a way of developing your answer to that question that I originally asked there as well. Just be careful about giving opinions. So you said, so I personally think, which is fine, that's great. But you said, I think so, and one example you used is, I think so, especially transportation. So if you're developing your answer, you want to say, I think that, rather than I think so. So I think
Oh,
that, yeah.
yes, yes.
You know what I mean? So yeah, in that case, I think that especially transportation will improve. Yeah, if you say I think so, you're basically saying yes, I agree to something. So do you think there will be changes in the future? You say yeah, I think so. That's what you're saying. You're basically saying yes. But if you're giving your opinion on something in terms of what you think will happen, then you should say I think that
I
rather
think
than
that.
I think so. Yeah. Good. And I think just one other point that I would make here is um, there was another point that I made. Yeah, just in terms of plural forms. So you're talking about the places people like to go to, and you mentioned temples, which was great because you used the plural form. But then you used the singular form. You said church, museum, art gallery. But when you're talking about places in general,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
you want to use the
Churches.
plural forms. Yeah, so churches, museums, art galleries.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so that was the only other slip that I noticed in terms of grammar. So yeah, thank you very much, Jesse.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. I
No
appreciate it.
worries. Okay, great. So we're going to move on now, and I'm going to bring Alice into the class just to do a bit of practice. Hi there, Alice. Are you there?
Yes, I am, Alex. Can you hear me?
Wonderful. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Okay, great. And how are you today?
I'm well. We've just had a lot of rainfall, but
Oh dear, she's dropped out. We'll just see if she comes back. Okay. Oh, what have we got here? Just quickly try again. Hi there, Alice. Are you back?
yes, sorry, I got disconnected.
Okay, no worries. Let's hope we can stay connected. Just going through. So what you're saying there's been a lot of rainfall.
Yes, it's really rained. It's still raining up to now.
Wow. Is that
And we also
strange?
have, we are still in lockdown in some of the counties.
Okay. Is that strange for the season, or does it normally rain at this time of the year?
Well, we expected the rainfall from around March, but we certainly have not had rain. So since yesterday, it's raining quite heavily.
Okay. Okay. So it's something a little bit different then, out of season.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Oh. Okay, Alice. So let's have a look at the next topic we're going to practice today, and this is the topic of laughter. Okay. So Alice,
Yes.
do you like movies that make you laugh?
Well, to be honest, I'm not a very good fan of movies, but in case I get an opportunity, I always love watching them because it makes me feel refreshed after laughing for some time.
Okay. And do you think people of all ages like cartoons?
Not necessarily. I know there are people who don't like watching cartoons, but I also know, like, I have a friend who loves cartoons. He can watch cartoons for quite a long time without getting bored.
Okay. Why do children laugh so much?
Sorry?
Why do children laugh so much?
Well, sometimes they get quite amused, especially when they observe something they are not used to. And most of the time, you find that if an adult does something that is funny, they find it even more funnier than anything usual.
And why do you think that adults laugh less than children?
I think it's because most of the time, whatever may make them laugh is something they have witnessed before. So it's not actually something very new to them.
Okay. In your case, what kind of people can make you laugh?
Well, I love watching people who create jokes. For example, we have a program in my country that has young people who come up with very interesting and very unusual jokes. And that makes me feel very excited, especially when I have to watch something that, somebody cracks a joke that you didn't even imagine that they would.
Do you think that money can make people happy?
Well, I think it can, and especially if the person is not having challenges, for example, in their marriages or even at home, it can make them quite happy because they're able to experience or enjoy many things in life. For example, they can have a car which can drive them to work comfortably and make every other place that they would want to visit accessible and very convenient for them.
Okay, thank you very much, Alice, for your responses to those questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, some nice collocations. That was one thing that really jumped out there. So you used quite a few. You used quite a lot of variety here as well. So you used crack a joke, which is a really nice collocation to use. Quite a conversational one, which was great. Also to come up with jokes as well, which was great. So using that as using the phrasal verb there, which was great to hear. Yeah, there was some nice use of general descriptions as well, which you gave. So when you were talking about the comedians on television, and your friend, you gave examples in that case. You talked about your friend, who loves cartoons. So that was great. I thought for some of the questions you could have given other examples as well. So when you were saying, for example, that with kids they find things funnier, maybe an example of something they might find funnier than adults,
Okay.
just to extend your answer a little bit.
Okay.
Because that's the thing, because there were sometimes you were giving examples which was great, and then other times you weren't so much, and so it just meant the answers were a bit shorter than they could have been. Also, just be careful with that expression, because you said more funnier, but if you say funnier, you don't need to use more, because that's
Okay.
already the comparative, isn't it?
I was even surprised that I used the word funnier. I wasn't very sure whether it was correct English.
Funnier, yeah, you can say funnier, yeah. It's actually both are used, like more funny or funnier, but funnier
Okay.
is more standard, but
Okay.
not more funnier, yeah. Good. And just a final thing as well. You said at one point you said you're not a very good fan of movies, so we wouldn't say good fan. We say big fan. So not a very big fan of movies
Big
is the
fan.
expression. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. To be a big
Okay.
fan of something. But yeah, other than that, thank you. That was great, Alice. So you spoke at a natural pace. Your pronunciation is very clear as well. So yeah, lots of good elements there in your response.
Thank you. You
Okay.
actually caught me off guard.
Caught you off guard. There's a nice expression again.
Yes.
Okay.
But thank
Well,
you. Thank you so much for
always
the
be prepared.
feedback.
No worries, Alice. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for
Okay,
getting
bye.
involved. Bye to you. Okay. So Rachel saying that you would like to get involved in the class. Yep. Just follow the link, Rachel. Once you've clicked on staff nurse as well, then you'll be able to see how you can take advantage of this opportunity. So we've got time just to bring in one more student. Netra, I'm going to bring you in. Hi there, Netra. Netra, are you there? Okay, looks like we're maybe having some technical issues here. Okay.
Joel?
Netra. Oh, Netra, are you there? I can hear you, but it's not very clear. Can you hear me? Okay. No, it seems like we've got some technical issues there. Peter, let me. Oh, hang on. Are you there, Netra?
Hello, hello. Yes, yes. Yes,
Oh,
I'm
hi.
here.
Good,
Hi.
good. It seemed like we had some technical issues before.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but we're all good now.
Yeah.
Good, good. Great to hear it. So, how have you been? Have you been well?
Yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah, we are in pandemic, but still, by the grace of God, we are protected.
Yeah, I know it's very difficult in India at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I
yeah.
hope the situation improves as soon as possible.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, Netra. So we're going to move on to another topic now.
Okay.
And the topic we're going to look at is the truth.
Okay.
So I'd like to get your opinions on this. So, Netra, do you think we should tell the truth at all times?
As per my perception, I think we should say truth because truth is a great policy, just like honesty. But sometimes it is not possible, and just to preserve some relationship or to preserve some, emotions of others, we need to use some white lies. But there should be a delicate line between black lies and white.
Okay.
Repeatedly, we have been using white lies. It can turn into habitual.
Okay. And do you think I should tell the truth even if it hurts someone?
I don't think that we should say truth. In that sense, I can use white lie, but simultaneously, I feel we should not hide the truth, which is has some significance with that person, even though it may be hurtful for that person at that time. But we can prepare their mind step by step, and then we can reveal that truth.
Okay. So in which specific situations should we not tell the truth?
Certain situations like life threatening situations are there. In that case, we need to be very careful while revealing truth. For example, recently one incident happened in my country. One person died because there was a fire broke down in ICU, and that lady's husband got expired in that incident. And when they revealed that truth to that wife, she got instantly a heart attack, and she too expired on the same day. So in such incidents, we need to be very careful.
Do you know when other people are telling lies?
Yeah, we can predict that they speak lies by their facial expressions or some hand gestures. They may not able to give you eye contact. That is the one indication. And another thing is that they will hide something, or they will give some close-ended answers, and they will unable to give you details. So these kind of things can tell us that that person is hiding something or telling lie.
Okay. Thank you very much there, Netra.
Thank
Wow,
you.
that was the story that you told about the husband and the wife. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
wow. That must have been quite a
yeah,
shocking experience.
yeah, yeah. Today only I heard that in this news. So there was a news about that
Wow.
family.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the thing. So you were developing on the answers by giving examples, and obviously in that case, a really memorable example
yeah,
there. So that was great. Yeah, providing reasons for your responses and for the opinions that you had, and you did that very clearly and very effectively throughout your responses to those questions. So you use the expression white lies, which was great, but then the opposite, black lies, is not as common.
Okay.
So we might say, yes, so the opposite to a white lie might be a serious lie, we might say.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, would be an opposite there. Also, you did use some good expressions. So you talked about, life-threatening situations, obviously, in the example that you gave. You talked about eye contact in terms of seeing if someone is lying or not, which is a nice expression to use. And you also said, but you said may not able to, but may not be able to would be the expression
Okay. May
there.
not be able to. Okay.
Yeah. Just to say as well, obviously it's a really sensitive topic, but when you talked about, you said got expired, it's not quite the expression we would use. We might say like
Okay.
passed away, they passed away, or died is obviously
Okay.
more direct. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
if we're being more kind of sensitive about it, we do say like they passed
Hmm.
away. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But yeah, in general,
I'll,
Netra, sorry, you're gonna. I was going to say, in general, Netra, your pronunciation and your is much clearer than it
okay.
had been in previous ones. So
Yeah.
that's great
Yeah.
to hear. You've definitely
Yeah.
put some effort
Yeah.
into making that
Thank
clearer.
you.
So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Yeah,
No
I've
worries.
been doing that, the recording, self-recording and listening back. And that is really helpful for me. As for
Oh,
your
brilliant.
advice, I've been doing that.
Oh, brilliant! That's great to hear, Netra. So
Okay.
I'm glad it's
Yeah.
working for you as well. So
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you very much for
Thank you. Thank
getting
you.
involved in
Thank
today's
you for
class.
this. Yeah. Thank you for this chance.
No
Thank you very
worries.
much.
No worries. Okay, and thank you to everyone who has been watching the class today. It was great to do the practice with those who were involved, and also great to see your comments for those watching live on YouTube and Facebook. We will be back next week with another IELTS live speaking class. So if you would like to get involved, then do follow the link in the description. And just for those who would like to get involved in that, let me share that with you again. So this is the IELTS Scholarship Program. We are partnered, Swoosh English, with Connetics USA. And if you would love to work in the USA as a nurse, then do sign up for the scholarship program and see how we can support you in doing that. And I will share the description for this, the link for this, in the chat box. Click on Staff Nurse once you click on the link. So once again, thank you very much for all those watching live, and I'll see you again next week.